accents are pretty much what makes music on the snare drum. I mean, there's lots of things like drum rolls and dynamics, but when it comes to actually creating cool rhythms, it's the accents that we get into. It's what you hear drum lines do. It's what you hear in big music that makes it awesome when you hear a cool drum part. And even a drummer on a drum set is doing a lot of accents to make it interesting. So let's understand some things about how to create an accent first, and that requires some practice of our stroke types. Of course, an accent looks like this, and it can come in any pattern, and it can come in any place. So it could be on any of these notes, and we have to figure out, depending on where it is, which strokes we need to create that accent. So there are 4 stroke types. Okay, so the first stroke type here is the tap stroke. So the tap stroke, as you can see right there, is a light tap, but it's happening from an inch or two above the drum, and your stick goes down that distance and comes right back up. All right, so I would do that, 4 or 8 with each hand until I'm pretty sure I can control that. I'm fully gripping my sticks. There's no looseness at all. It's just a nice controlled tap onto the drum. So the tap stroke is super important. That's actually what made the thing I just played sound cool. It was the fact that most of my strokes were here. Then when you hear an accent, it jumps out at you, and it's exciting. So the next thing we would see here is called the natural stroke. A natural stroke is where your stick is already up, and you're going to tap, and it's louder because your stick height is up high, and it's going to bounce all the way up where it came from. That's at the end of the thing I played for you. That was this. Oops, sorry. So those big ones where I'm going ba 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 ba, where it's all a bunch of accented notes in a row. A natural stroke starts high, taps, and ends high again. So we have tap, which is low, low, starts low and ends low. The natural stroke starts high and ends high. It's loud because the sticks are higher. Now, the strokes that really make music interesting for percussionists are the downstroke and the upstroke. And the downstroke is probably the most important one to learn. So in the downstroke, stick is going to start high, but then it's going to come down, and it's going to stop like you just played a tap. So when you played a tap, right, you were tap, and then your stick ended up here, ready for another tap. But with a downstroke, we started up high, and we come down, and now we're ready for a tap, that's the point of a downstroke. So you tap down, and then you end up at your tap height, ready to play some taps. So boom, you get that accent, but then the next note the right hand plays will sound like a tap, and that's what we want. So you have to practice this. You start up high, and you play the sound. It's going to be kind of loud, and then you have to actually squeeze the stick so that it doesn't rebound like it wants to. Since you're hitting pretty strong, you have to really squeeze your fingers. So it's these back fingers that are really helping me out. I go boom, and I'm squeezing with these fingers right as it lands. You can do it in the air. Squeeze, squeeze. And at first, you might drive it on top and just leave it there. And you're going to be like, well, that's not right. And that's true. You have to let it bounce just enough to get off the drum so it doesn't sound weird, right? So I'm in slow motion. It's probably hitting and then bouncing a little higher than I want it, and then I squeeze to keep it in tap height. So it comes down, boing, stop it. Boing, stop it. So I'm stopping the bounce. So you see how it wiggles? Oh, yeah, I was lazy on that one. But it works either way. Even if I'm lazy, right? I'm keeping it down. That's the goal. And I'm doing that by squeezing. So hopefully you don't see so much wiggle. A really good one, you don't really see it wiggle at all. But that's a downstroke, and that's something you need to practice with each hand. And then finally, we have the upstroke, which is just the opposite of a downstroke. You're already at the tap height, and you make your tap, and then it rebounds up higher than it started. So you make a tap note, make a tapping sound, but then you, boing, you get away from the drum. An upstroke, where we bring the stick up. This is the hardest one, and it's really important, but it's the hardest one to really do in the middle of your music. So it takes a little practice as well. So now let's look at some ways to practice accents. All right, this is a really typical pattern that a percussionist might practice. It's watermelon. So I did that with my right hand, and then I would continue with my left hand. We're going to do more of that at the end. But what I want to point out here is the stroke types. So for the first note, I'm starting high because I'm going to play an accent. So here's my higher stick. And I'm doing it all in one hand so that I can practice all my downstrokes and upstrokes and stuff on one hand. So boom, tap, tap, tap. So the first one has to be a downstroke. Okay, the first one has to be a downstroke. And then we've just got tap, tap, tap. Down, tap, tap, tap. If you do it once. Try it again. And again. And then the left hand. Up. So if you just play a single watermelon, then you do your downstroke, and you see, can you play one loud and three soft? That means you did a good downstroke. You controlled the stick enough to play a tap. This, of course, is going to be your hardest one to play soft because you just played loud, but if your downstroke is good, then the next tap will be soft. Let's look at the next one here. Apple. Apple, apple, apple. Now, this is the same thing, except you got a downstroke. And the only reason I know it's a downstroke is because the next note is a tap. Okay? The type of stroke you do on a particular note has to do with what's coming next. So the downstroke is followed by a tap. Apple. See the downstroke where I'm squeezing the stick? Here's another example. Strawberry, strawberry. So these are all fun ways to practice, and these are basically just practicing a downstroke when you do them one at a time. If you do them multiple times, like I've been doing, let's look at what happens. Okay, so down, tap, tap, down, tap, tap. So you've got watermelon, watermelon, apple, 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 strawberry, strawberry. I think that's kind of a fun way to practice. And so we can look at an exercise here, and if you search on YouTube for tap accent number 1, hopefully you'll see this exact music, and there's actually a track for you to play along with. But the tap accent exercise is how we basically train ourselves to play accents and taps. And so I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in on this here. Yep. This. And let's take a look at what they are having us do. First thing we should notice is capital letters and lowercase letters. This is all right hand, but they're showing an accent with a capital letter and a tap with a lowercase. And here's where the stroke types get interesting. So we already learned this is a watermelon, right? Watermelon, watermelon, water. And then we're going to do it with our left hand. But we already talked about this is a downstroke, and this is a tap stroke. And this is a tap stroke. And here's where it gets interesting. Instead of a tap, because if I play a tap here, then I'm just ready for another tap, right? Starts low, ends low. I'm just going to play another tap if I tap here. So this is our first time where we have to do an upstroke. If you tried to play along with me on the previous pages where I played a bunch in a row, watermelon, watermelon, I didn't talk about it, but I was doing an upstroke. And the reason I have to do an upstroke is because the next note is an accent. Right? So in order to make an accent, I have to have my stick up high. So the accent comes from preparing on the note before with an upstroke. So the upstroke here, and then the pattern is the same here. Down for the accent, because then we have to play a tap, and then we play another tap, and then we play another upstroke. Although in this case, you don't have to play an upstroke. Any idea why? Okay, the only reason here is because you're switching hands. So because your right hand is going to be done, you want your right hand to hang out at a tap height while the left hand is playing. You don't want your right hand to be up here while you're going. That's a little bit silly. Or even up here. It's kind of distracting. So our basic position, right, has the sticks pointed down, hovering about an inch above the drum. And so your right hand's final note will be a tap. Down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap. So slowly, this measure is up, down. Try that with me. Ready and go. Down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, If you're really good, this note will sound exactly like these notes because the upstroke happens after you play it. Here's from the beginning. Down, tap, tap, up. Here it was another tap. It wasn't loud. It's lifting the stick that's different about the upstroke. The sound of it is actually a tap. So that's why it's still a lowercase r, and that's where the practice comes in. So this whole measure a little faster. Ready, go, and... Then you'd switch hands. The next measure is the same pattern, so you can just look at the stroke types. Try it with your left hand. Ready, and... Down, tap, tap, up, down, tap, tap, tap. All right. So if I zoom out just a bit, you'll be able to see. I can't really zoom out a little bit, can I? How about like that? Okay, cool. So now we're really looking. Oh, here we go. Looking at these first two measures. Watermelon, 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 watermelon. And then it turns into apple, 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 apple. And you do that with both hands. So let's just slowly try it once with the right hand and then once with the left hand. I'm not going to redraw all of that. So either look at all of the stroke types here or just go into the next measure using what you learned. Okay, so this is going to be nice and slow. This will be down, tap, tap, up, down, and 2, and a 1, 2, here we go. Up, down, left hand, down, tap, up, down, tap, tap, tap. Even at this pace, you're going to find yourself getting mixed up in the ups and downs until you really practice those strokes. So go as slow as you need to. This is an appropriate speed to practice. That's perfect. And if you can do it slow enough to do it perfect, now you're on the path to learning to do this. If you keep trying to go fast because it seems cool to go. See, I just messed it up. I missed a note. Like it, okay, I want to be able to do that. Watermelon, watermelon, apple, apple. I want to be able to do that. What you're going to end up doing is this. That kind of sounds cool, but notice that my taps are like 3 or 4 inches off the drum. So you're really just playing loud, 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 and that doesn't really create an accent. What creates an accent is low taps, and then only the accents are the ones that come from a higher stick height. You can see it, right? You can see how low that stick is during the taps. So practicing that means you have to have a good downstroke. You have to know how to do an upstroke. And you have to do that slowly if you haven't done this before. All right, so the exercise, like I said, the first part is watermelon, watermelon, and then it goes apple, 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 apple. And then on the next line, they flip it around. So I don't know, pancake, 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 whatever. So they've changed where the emphasis is, and I like you, I like you. I don't know. So this is different right here. 2 in a row. Now it gets way more advanced with the types of strokes you need for that. I mean, you can figure it out. It's a pretty simple puzzle, but if you can learn how to do watermelon and apple, and then maybe strawberry just for fun. Strawberry, 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 switch hands. Strawberry, strawberry, strawberry. If you can learn how to do those things with a good downstroke, a good tap, and a good upstroke, you're going to be in great shape for learning how to do this. The reason we haven't had a natural stroke yet is because there weren't 2 accents in a row. So here's an example just so you've seen all the examples. This would be a natural stroke because you need to start high to get the accent, and then you need to come back up to high to play another accent. So that's a natural stroke. Boom, boom. The next one is a downstroke because you have to be ready to play a tap. Oh, no, this is an upstroke because you have to play an accent next. You see where the puzzle kind of works out? So if I confuse you with this part right here, don't worry about it. But I thought, some of you might see how this puzzle comes together. Natural, down, up. Natural, down, up. And once you know your strokes, even this complicated accent pattern starts to become just another thing you can practice. You just have to go slowly. So that is a way for you to practice your accent development. Like I said on the previous page here, I really want you to find the video and listen to it. Search tap accent number 1. It starts out at like 80, and that's probably too fast for you. So you need to practice this on your own first, and then you can work on playing along with the video. So good luck working a little bit on accents. That's truly how percussionists need to understand accents. So thanks for watching.